Let's talk about quiet people. You know, the ones who barely say a word, leaving you to wonder what on earth is going on inside their heads. Well, today, we're going to decode that fascinating mystery. Come on, you've totally been there. You're deep into what you think is a conversation, and then it hits you. You've done like 99% of the talking. It's baffling, right? You're just left wondering, am I boring them? Did I say something weird? And when we're met with that wall of silence, our brains just naturally start filling in the blanks. We figure, oh, they must be shy. Or worse, we're boring them to tears. Maybe they're intimidated. Or maybe, just maybe, there's nothing going on up there. But here's the thing. Most of the time, we're completely wrong. What we so often miss is that being quiet usually isn't a personality flaw or an empty mind. For a lot of people, it's an active, strategic, and very calculated psychological choice. In fact, we can break these quiet folks down into 4 really distinct types, and each one has a completely different psychology driving their silence. And you're going to want to stick around because that 4th and final type, well, they have a kind of power that most people can only dream of. Okay, let's dive right in with our first type, the Conversational Escape Artist. I guarantee you know this person. Okay, picture this. You're in a group meeting. This person is nodding, looks totally engaged, but you just know deep down they're praying, please don't call on me, please don't call on me. And when someone finally puts them on the spot, they have this classic move. They'll go, you know, that's a great question, but Sarah, what are your thoughts on that? And just like that, poof, they've passed the conversational hot potato. So you might look at them and think they're just intimidated by everyone, but the reality is way more strategic than that. They've actually perfected a kind of social survival mode, quietly observing everyone and reading the room. And their motivation is pretty simple, actually. It's a calculated risk assessment. See, they know that the less they say, the lower the chances are of saying something awkward or, just plain dumb. It's a quiet, kind of classy form of self-preservation. All right, so that's the escape artist. Now let's move on to our second type, the value speaker, who uses silence in a totally different way. This person has absolutely zero time for small talk. I mean it. Don't even try asking them about the weather. And gossip? Forget about it. They see all of that as a complete waste of their precious mental and verbal energy. And this is the amazing part, the second you bring up a topic they actually find meaningful, something about the universe or a complex idea or human behavior, it's like a switch flips. That quiet person suddenly transforms into this passionate, articulate speaker, like they just stepped onto a TED Talk stage. See, for the value speaker, words have real weight, real power. They don't talk just to fill the silence. They talk to connect, to learn, to teach. So if you ever find one of them really opening up to you, you should take it as a massive compliment. It means they think the conversation is genuinely worth their energy. So, our third type, their silence comes from a totally different source. It's not about other people, it's about their own rich inner world. Meet the lone thinker. The lone thinker has spent so much time with their own thoughts that they've basically built a whole universe inside their mind. They analyze things, they debate ideas, they solve complex problems, all on their own. They've essentially become their own best friend and most interesting conversation partner. Now, because of this, they can sometimes come across as a little distant, maybe even uninterested in you. But you gotta understand it's not personal. The reality is, they are just way more comfortable with silence than most of us are. They have very high self-awareness, but their social battery? It's usually pretty low. So at the end of the day, lone thinkers don't dislike people at all. They just don't need a constant stream of chatter to feel alive and engaged. Their natural habitat is quiet reflection. And that brings us to number 4, the final type. And I want you to pay close attention here, because this is by far the rarest and, in many ways, the most powerful form of quiet there is. We're talking about a type of quiet power that most people never, ever achieve. We're talking about the silent authority. You know this person. They're the one in a chaotic meeting who sits there calm and composed, almost like a monk, and doesn't say a single thing. But then, when they finally decide to speak, the entire room goes dead silent. Everybody physically leans in. It's like their words actually have weight. So what's the psychology here? Their power comes from this deep, unshakable core of confidence. They don't need to talk all the time because they have absolutely nothing to prove. Their calm presence alone commands respect. They speak less, but when they do, they can change the entire energy of a room. So there you have it, the 4 distinct psychologies of silence. Now, of course, the big question turns back to you. So let's do a quick recap. We've got the escape artist, who's all about strategically avoiding social blunders. The value speaker, who saves their energy only for conversations that truly matter. The lone thinker, who is perfectly happy in the world inside their own head. And finally, the silent authority, whose confidence is so strong it speaks for itself. So think about it for a second. Which one are you? Do you see a little bit of yourself in one of these? Or maybe, does this finally explain that quiet friend or family member you could never quite figure out? As it turns out, silence is rarely empty. Sometimes it's smarter, deeper, and a whole lot more powerful than we ever give it credit for.